The field trip primarily has again been about us giving students the opportunity to learn about the real world and what goes on in the real world, and also from the perspective of taking students to foreign countries, how the skills that they learn in our programme here in the UK can translate elsewhere in the world. So the aim really is to conceptualise all the knowledge we've given them over the past 2 years as part of their degree programme, and allow them to see how that then translates into the real world.
The field trip was a few days into Holland, so we visited a couple of different places. We went to Amsterdam first, visited the Ajax arena, then we went to Utrecht, and then we went to NEC Nijmegen.
First of all, went to Ajax. We had a tour around the facilities at Ajax and got to see and understand behind the scenes at Ajax Football Club and what's happened the past 15-20 years in terms of their development.
We looked around the stadium, we found out the philosophy of the club, what they like to do, what they didn't like to do, full stadium tour, access all areas, pitch side, everything that you would normally do anyway, but it was just a bit more involved.
We then went down to NEC, we went down to Nijmegen to see behind the scenes at the organisation. So we were very fortunate to be given a number of different presentations by members of staff, both sports science, sports psychology, but also the head of the academy at the organisation as well. And that was really interesting for us and for the students, because it's a really small club, and they were talking about the ways that they can use sports science as a way to almost develop the players so much so that actually they're not buying players in and they're not having to spend a lot of money on players external to that. So they're using their system and their approaches to ensure that they're bringing their own players through the system.
In terms of like what they were doing, it was like their best practice for their club. And I mean, I've been lucky and I've worked with Everton and Liverpool, so I've been like thrown in with like everywhere I've worked has had a lot of money, but I know that there's placements out there for the third year students at like Crewe in Tranmere, so like you need to know like what to do in those instances in working with your specific budgets. So it was a good insight overall into what like the different areas you could get thrown in as a practitioner. On
the last day, we then went to the national governing body for Holland and football within Holland, the KNVB, and that was again a really interesting talk. But we were more getting to see the national level sort of approach to working in professional football, and they were really talking about how, as a system, they've completely scrapped the old system that they used to have, and are now in a stage where they're trying to develop their whole system again. And they were talking about the approaches they're taking to do that in terms of innovative approaches, such as virtual reality, things that actually you might not even have considered as being useful within professional football.
Basically, they had like these like goggles that they were using. I'm not really any good at like this performance analysis, but basically like they could basically replay the game from a player's perspective, and they could go through the decisions that they'd already made in that game and see whether what they'd done was the best decision rather than whether it was the best decision or whether they should have made an opposite decision. So like the coach and the player can be watching the same thing from the same angle, and they can basically like decide whether that's the best practice or whether they should have done something else, and then they can like coach them using that as well. So it's just like the next level of technology, which was quite good.
The NEC Nijmegen was a psychology talk, so it was someone that Rob already knew who'd been in the world of football for a few years, and then the KNVB talk was essentially the Dutch FA. It was the people who work for the Dutch FA, and they were telling us about what they do. That was their philosophy on what they plan to do with the kids over the next few years. There was a performance analyst at the national level who works with the Dutch team. He was showing us his code window, all of his equipment that he has, everything that he normally does. Then we met with one of the physiologists. He was telling us the plans and stuff that are in place for the national team all the way down through the ranks to under-9s. And then when we went to Nijmegen, the psychologist's talk, he told us about what he does with the players that are at Nijmegen, how he gets them ready for games, how he takes academy graduates and puts them through different ranks within the confines of NEC Nijmegen as well.
That's one of the things that that we want them to be able to do is take that knowledge and skills and think creatively, think innovatively how those skills and the knowledge and how other people are doing things might translate to their own situations, and might translate to them being able to do their job better fundamentally.
I was lucky enough to gain a placement at a football club within the local area that has put me through a lot of different things, and then when going on the field trip, the stuff that they were doing with us on the field trip, the stuff that they showed us and the stuff that they had envisaged for themselves over the next 4 years, the plans that they were giving us, I tried to take back and put into what I was doing at a professional level back in England as well. It's
probably the first time that all the students and all the staff are in the same situation for 3 or 4 days, and it really was a good opportunity for us to get to understand the students and what they really want to do after they graduate, what they've learned from the programme, and equally what drives them, what drives them to go on and maybe work in professional football. And I think from a staff perspective, we learned a lot about our students, and I'm sure they learned a lot about us as well, because we were obviously in a much more informal environment in some situations as well. So it gave us a really good opportunity to interact with the students on that level.
I've had people message me off the course that I didn't really speak to that much during the course, but now I'm finished, they'll be like, oh, I'm back in Liverpool, do you want to catch up for like food or a drink or whatever? And it's just that sort of environment that if you're all going to be in the sports science world, which is a small world anyway, it's best to know everyone rather than just like stay within a niche or like a clique. So I'd say that it helps you for that. And loads of people off the course, past and present, have gone on to do like big things in football, especially. So if this is what you want to do, it's like a great route to go down.